Hello everyone. Today again we are going to look at one of the very important and powerful teaching of Jesus Christ. In Matthew chapter 5, he tells the disciples, "You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world." Now here Jesus talks about two things, being salt and light. Most of the time, if you listen to a sermon, people try to divide this. Either people will choose to talk about salt or they will talk about light. They will categorize the list of things. This is the characteristics of salt, and so we need to be salt. Or these are the characteristics of light, and we need to be the light. They often avoid connecting this both because these characteristics doesn't seem to sync. Just for our brief understanding, salt, when it's in use, it dissolves. It is not visible, whereas light is visible and it also makes everything else visible. And that's where people tend to separate these two things because the characteristic doesn't seem to come together. And I even have people telling me in my early days that Jesus calls some people to be salt and some to be light. Or some say that we need to discern when to be salt and when to be light. Now, each one of us have both of this aspect in us. There is a life which is visible, which people can see, and there is a life which is not very visible. People don't see that aspect. Many a times we judge people by what we see. We have a life which is visible, and we have a life which is not really visible. What Jesus is saying is, I want my disciples to manage this perfectly. There is a life which is not visible. How I live when nobody is watching me is also equally important. How I live when people are watching me. Both of this are important to God. If I live a different life altogether when no people are not watching me, then this doesn't go together. When people are watching me, I live a different life. When nobody is watching me, I live a different life. This is not disciple. A true disciple of Christ is someone who, when nobody is watching, is also the same when people are watching. So both of this has to sync. My motive and what I do both should sync. Many a times people may do good work, but with wrong motive. Motive and action may not sync. And so Jesus is making something very important here. A true disciple of Christ is someone who knows how to bring salt and light together. If you're trying to separate this, then you have lost its meaning. So may God help us to understand the word salt and light in a deeper way. Though it has a lot of depth to it, I'm just giving a brief thought for us to consider.